Last week, I did $109,000 in total revenue, and in this video, I'll break down where it came from, how it happened, and what I'm working on in the week ahead. If you're new here, my name's Dickie Bush, and every week I make this video documenting my entire portfolio of internet businesses to talk about what's working, what I'm learning, and what I'm focused on during each week. My goal is to take you behind the scenes because I wish a lot more people made content like this, because to be honest, it's what I like to consume. And I know that in 10 years, I'll be very happy to look back on the entire journey and have these videos documented. So diving right into the numbers, last week we did $109,455 across all of our verticals. 90,000 of that came from PGA, which is our coaching program for freelance writers to become ghostwriters. PGA stands for Premium Ghostwriting Academy. And that was spread out nicely across 3 different offers we have within that vertical. And I'll talk about each of them throughout the video, but we have a digital product downsell. We have our backend retention program called Liftoff that everyone can join after their first 16 weeks. And then we have our flagship front-end 16-week coaching program. And I've broken it down just like that across each of them. Then we have $12,000 from Ship 30 for 30, which is our beginner 30-day writing challenge. We just finished up a cohort for this. So this is all payment plans coming through with the second installment, but we have a launch coming up for our late September cohort that we'll have this week. So we should see a nice little boost there. And then $7K from our Write with AI newsletter. This is a paid Substack newsletter to help people learn how to write with AI. And this is a mix of one-off digital products within that ecosystem and paid newsletter subscription. So high level, pretty happy with last week, especially because we are in the thick of it without a launch for either Write with AI or Ship 30, which are high margin digital product launches. And we've learned a ton on the PGA side that we're currently implementing to improve our money model for the front end and the back end. And I'm going to talk about that throughout the video. I also didn't make one of these last week, but the numbers were very, very similar. We did $109,000 last week as well. I'm not going to dig into the specifics of them, but basically every week I sit down on Sunday and I say what happened across every vertical. And I try to make sure that all of these are moving forward. If there's anything that sticks out that needs to be addressed, if there's anything that we're pacing behind, I just always start my week with like what happened last week, and I like to open source that process. Diving into what actually happened to generate all of this, quite a bit, to be honest. And I want to talk about each of these because there's going to be some tactical nuggets for anyone watching, running any kind of similar business. So first, we held our webinar pop-up event. So I've talked a lot in previous weeks about our webinars, how we are structuring them. And our goal is to maximize the return on every webinar by doing whatever we can to get as many people who sign up to enroll, because we know that maximizing dollar per sign up on that can give us a very clear 2 to 3 week return on ad spend. And if that's extremely positive, there's no reason we can't bump that up by 50 to 100% for future webinars. So to do that, we held a pop-up event that Jeremy Haynes talks about. I'm in his mastermind and learning a lot on the marketing side from him. But basically 2 weeks after the main event, you hold a pop-up event that's like framed as, we got a lot of questions about XYZ topic. We want to put together an exclusive small group event only for people who attended the first one or signed up for the first one. It's going to be at this time. We'll cover XYZ topic. Now on our first webinar, we pitched booking a call, and it was a blowout. We booked the most number of calls we ever have in a 1 week period. And that really carried us through like a 2 week stretch. But then after 2 weeks, you basically have this large group of people, 1, who didn't take any action and didn't book a call, 2, that we had a call with that didn't enroll. And 3 people who signed up and just didn't attend anything. I might have said that as the first one, but our goal is to then do something to move that group of people further down the enrollment funnel. So what we ended up doing was pitching another full masterclass. And then at the end, rather than pitching book a call, we pitched a $350 downsell product and sold about 55 units of that, which we were very happy with because it was about 20% conversion on the webinar. Everything I've seen is like 5 to 10%, depending on the price point, of course, but like 5 to 10% conversion on a live webinar is pretty solid. So we clearly have an offer that is pretty congruent. We could probably raise the price and still see a higher return there, but we want to get as many people in there as possible because we have an ascension funnel where they book a call with a setter. Setter then either triages them, keeps them in the community, or ascends them into a higher ticket offer if they want more accountability and stuff like that. But anyway, that's what needs to be improved for us to reliably send more traffic here. We're still in an exploratory phase, like trying to figure out what is the best way to drive the maximum dollar per lead for everyone who registers for these events. So, and just a reminder to self here, a way we can do that is inviting all the low ticket leads from that product into our upcoming internal PGA calls so they get a little bit of a sneak peek. And this is why I like putting these things together, is because I think through all of our different verticals when I do this weekly review, and I get ideas like this. We also need to make sure we capture a phone number to dial these leads during checkout that don't book their implementation calls. So lots we can do here, but this was the final event of our kind of webinar flow. We actually have another one coming up on Thursday this week because it's really a monthly event. But this was the first time we did any kind of pop-up, and 55 units on 350 is like 18K, which almost liquidates the entire ad spend of the event. I think we spent 25 on it. So we know that now for future webinars, we can spend even more because we have the book a call, which had like a 5x rough ROAS on the front end. And then you can reliquidate everyone who doesn't enroll. And then also we're going to send a good chunk of them. So it's going to take like 3 or 4 more iterations of this, but I do think that our webinars will have a consistent 10 to 12, 3-month ROAS. But so much of what we're going to focus on over the next few months is figuring out how to pull all of that into the present rather than kicking things out with payment plans. The Hormozy event came at the right time for us to help us understand, okay, we have a lot of these pieces in place. It's just kind of the bundling of them and the way that we sell them that can maximize the front end cash and just the first 30 days of cash after you put something like this together. Because if we can reliably crack that, there's no reason these webinars can't be 10 times as big, just because we know that we're not limited in taking a bet like that, because we know that our models all point towards relatively quick return on that. So very happy with how that went. We have another one this week that I'll talk about at the end. Next, we hired our head of partnerships. It's going to be an absolute home run hire. So Tyler Gillespie is joining us. He goes by TG after running Beehive's partner program. Just an absolute home run hire. He's hit the ground running. We have so many people within our different product communities and verticals that want to refer their friends. We have other people who have big audiences, but don't necessarily have the best monetization vehicle, all these different things that if we had one single person in charge of driving partnerships and driving referrals and driving affiliates to drive traffic, there is no cap on the number of other people who could be marketing our different verticals on autopilot for us. So I've been looking for someone to fill this role for a few months. Didn't have anyone pop up that I thought would be a fit culturally, but then TG came to me because I was actually going to him asking for, hey, do you think that this partnership job offer is attractive to other people, just because I knew he was in that space. And then a couple months later, it's like, hey, I think this would be a home run fit for me too. One interview, I learned more in that one interview than anyone else that I've talked to. And that's usually my indicator of whether or not that person is going to be a good fit. And especially to kind of run a vertical on their own. This is really an entire marketing channel that I want to have one person running and not have it take a large amount of my bandwidth like it does all the other marketing channels. So very excited with it. We're going to build the single best educational partner program on the internet. Big welcome to TG for watching. And then if anyone is considering having something like this, I obviously can't speak to our results yet because it's relatively new, but I do know that I had my first chorus of angels singing when I first saw him drop the partner landing page and the game plan. I'm like, the fact that we went 4 years and generated 18 million or whatever we've hit at this point without any kind of real partnership program forces me to recognize that entrepreneurship is mostly a game of constantly figuring out all the places that you've left money on the table in the past, but then implementing them for the future. Because yeah, that's the main takeaway I had is I can't believe that we haven't had this for so long, but not gonna let that sunk cost keep me from building it right now. So very happy to have this vertical up and running. Next, we launched our Delphi bot inside PGA. So I've talked about this in a few videos. This has been about a month in the making, but we officially have AI Cole that's trained on 5 million words that Cole's written or said or talked about in the past. And now our students have access to it. We're still figuring out the best way to communicate with it. It's got a couple bugs here and there, but really having that live is going to be such a strong downstream effect on all of our offers. This has taken about a month since we made the decision to do it, maybe a month and a half, but it's finally here. So it's going to help our retention. It's going to help our front end sale because you can just have 24/7 access to your questions. It's going to help our CSMs take on more capacity because our students can ask questions directly to it. It's going to save a lot of bandwidth for them. It's an investment in our ecosystem that I think strengthens every single one of our offers. And now seeing it in practice is affirming that. So still not completely rolled out, but initial stages are up and running and I'm fired up to see our students begin to use it. Next, I had a couple good management meetings with our success team and my sales manager. So one of my recent realizations is that I was expecting my department heads to manage and drive performance better than I was managing and driving their performance, which is an unreasonable expectation. Basically, I was expecting them to manage their teams better than I was managing them. And when I realized that, I knew that I needed to create a meta example of how I want them to manage by managing them in the same way. So I spent a lot of time over the last 2 weeks increasing one, my communication cadence with them, and two, working together to create a very clear set of daily and weekly expectations and KPIs. So the way I break this down is expectations are just actions and activities, and then KPIs are results that those actions generate. And I've probably underinvested in this because I assume that department heads can create their own clarity, but really that's, like I said, an unreasonable expectation. I need to help them collaboratively build an extremely clear checklist of their daily, weekly activities and the results that they're trying to generate, because then they can manage their their direct reports in the same way. And at the same time, by doing that, I kind of audit all the things that they're working on so I can see where they're either working inefficiently or doing something that they no longer need to do, and I can reallocate their attention to higher leverage things. And a quick sidebar, if you're enjoying these videos, 1, hit subscribe and like on this video, and 2, let me know what questions you have by asking a comment on this video. I'm going to start adding in a section every week during these weekly updates where I answer Q&As from the viewer. So if you have any questions about any of these verticals, any of these business models, any of my journey or experience or anything, please leave a comment, let me know. That way I can answer it in the next video. I'm also launching a very small group mastermind with business owners to work one-on-one with me to build out a lot of the assets that I talk about in these videos. If you want more information on that, you can DM me the word scale on Instagram and I'll send it over. It's actually me messaging you. It's not a setter or anything like that. I'll just ask a couple questions about what you got going on and see if it's a good fit. Other than that, back to the video. My goal and my entire focus right now as CEO is just driving efficiency of this large team that I have. And that's been an adjustment as I've continued to kind of evolve as a leader, as a manager, as an entrepreneur, is figuring out now I have this team. Most of the time, the highest leverage thing that I can do is getting them to perform in a higher leverage way. So I've been investing a lot of time with them because we have big sales teams and we have big student success teams, and I need to make it easier for them to manage those large teams. And so this all kind of works together. So my next step is just continuing to reinforce the things that we've already set up rather than make this just like a one and done thing. Like, oh yeah, kumbaya, we set this thing up. Every week I'm having one-on-ones with them now, and we just go through the list of expectations, go through the list of KPIs, make sure that they're clear. And it's going to take 2 or 3 months of just repeating that process until it's really ingrained. But that's the same thing I want them to do with each person they manage. So did the same thing with my sales manager, who's also running our setting team. Basically, both of them now have very clear 1-page checklists of all the things they need to do every day. And I took the time to set that up for them, of putting the links in the right places and putting the check boxes. It sounds so simple, but until they can see, okay, winning looks like completing all these activities every day and then seeing the results that are very clearly broken down for them. Both of those things I set up over the last 2 weeks and are a long time overdue, or are long overdue. But now we can put them into practice going forward. So extremely happy with those, and I will continue to level up as a manager on that front. Next, we onboarded 3 new setters, so immediate increase in throughput on both platforms. So clear that we lacked bandwidth on both of them. Now it's just a training game. And so ramp up, or onboarding took a little bit of time, but ramp up will always take a little bit less effort. Once they've been onboarded and they're in the trenches, you just get all the tech and the setup and stuff out of the way, which is great. Now we need to set up tracking systems. So I'm digging into those quite a bit, because I want, like I said, to not have my manager spending a ton of time thinking about how to manage, thinking about the results, thinking about where to go. I need dashboards set up for them. So I see that his time is better spent training and my time is better spent setting up the dashboards, because I don't want him to context switch between dashboard training. Like, my big focus right now is looking at each department head, making sure that they're aligned on their highest leverage activity, and then surgically stepping in and saying, okay, they're strapped bandwidth wise. I need to be the one to go build this specific thing, and then going to build that. So getting these 3 up and running has been awesome. We're immediately seeing increase in throughput, immediately seeing that we still lack bandwidth because the speed to lead that we want to have is still not there. So I'm going to keep hiring on the setter front until all of those systems are maximized in terms of speed to lead, follow-ups, and overall output. All these pieces work together on the management side and the dashboard side. Anytime you're setting up any kind of new department, you need clear expectations and results for the manager that trickles down into the individual contributors, that trickles down into the dashboards you have for each of them. So I'm getting to learn a ton about how to streamline this type of department spin up and then department management. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm learning, they're getting better at it too, because of the better I get at it, the better they can be at it, if that makes sense. So having these on board immediately shows us that we need more, which immediately shows us that we're leaving money on the table, which is a great thing to have, but also a painful realization to have. Next, I'm spending more time building a failed payments tracker. So we have 4 different verticals. A chunk of them are low ticket. I think we're leaving like 10 to 20K a month in pure profit that is not being followed up with. They're having a failed payment go through and no one sends anything to them. It's just one of those things that as you grow, you probably don't look at closely enough, because it didn't matter when you were smaller, but now it's, especially as the margin kind of condenses or compresses as you get bigger, have a bigger team, these small things that used to not be a large chunk of profit are a higher percentage of profit now. And so I want to make sure we have all the systems in place to maximize all of those. So working with my finance department. As you can see here, I'm very much zoomed out a little bit and surveying department by department. And then I go in, surgically help them build something, and then I come back out. And that's really the flow that I've been in since I've been here in Europe, is because I have so much of the day where I can look at all the different pieces without interacting with that many people. I can have a good sense for, okay, where are the things that I need to go and direct the most attention. And this was one of them. Next thing, we did a new experiment last week, which was holding a group Q&A with 50 leads that were on the fence. So we had our closers reach out to anyone that we've had a call with that they think could enroll that did not enroll yet, and basically invited them to a small group Q&A with me. And I just took their questions. And we're still waiting on the final results here. But basically, I learned so much. And it's one of those lessons that you just have to keep learning of, like, if you want to improve anything, just go talk to your customers or potential customers. Because I did this and I immediately recognized that we have an extremely high information requirement buyer, meaning they have a lot of questions, they need a lot of certainty, and they need a lot of hand-holding making any kind of decision. And so I took every question that we got, threw it into ChatGPT, and I said, let's put together this 100-question pre-call document that answers anything and everything that they could possibly need to know. That's going to better inform our emails. It's going to better inform our sales team, and it's going to help with follow-up of, like, okay, anyone that we've had a call with in the last 6 months that had unanswered questions, let's send them this big document to kind of re-engage them. So lots of nice knock-ons from spending the time on 2 hours answering questions. We got a couple extra enrollments from it. And I think over the long term, doing that on a monthly basis will continue to inform marketing, continue to inform improvements for our sales team and things like that. So, and this was also like the third thing we did from the webinar. So it was webinar, pop-up event, Q&A to people on the fence. We could have done all three of those in like a 3-day period, kind of like Hormozy did with his big launch right now. But all we wanted to do was test these different pieces. And I think all of them kind of work together. And I enjoy doing it because it's nice to still get back in the, trenches of answering questions, objection handling, and things like that. So putting this together, I'm like, damn, we do a lot every 2 weeks. So lastly, we launched Digital Writing School, which is the thing I'm most excited about because of its potential with on the back of Ship 30, which is our 30-day writing challenge. So for context, like everything I talked about here, this was PGA, because that's the majority of our revenue, because I want to get to a place where that operation is much more streamlined, because that's where we're leaving the most money on the table. But then we also have these other bets that maximize the revenue of our other verticals. So this is our $99 a month writing community that's on the back of Ship 30. It's for anyone who wants to make money writing on the internet. So how to grow your audience, how to monetize with digital products, paid newsletters, coaching, consulting, things like that, how to start a newsletter. It's basically everything that Cole and I talk about on digital writing business models put in one community. And as that continues to grow, I'm going to make a full video breaking down our system, because I do think that we are onto something here with creating this mini ecosystem where we can continually launch products that also has the community element of it. So this has been in the works for about 6 months. It's finally live. I'm fired up for it. And we'll see how it trends over the next few weeks as we get more and more people going. So lots of moving pieces here. If I collapse all of these, it's very clear, like, okay, am I being unfocused by having all these different things that I'm working on each week? Potentially. But I do like the forcing function of these videos to sit down and look at all of them, because these are all profitable activities that we've moved forward. And I feel good about where we're heading in the weeks ahead, because what we have coming up, big webinar this Thursday with some iterations from last time. We'll put about 25K of ad spend towards that. Delphi Bot is going, which allows us to raise the price of our back end. And we're already seeing good throughput of that. Basically, our Delphi Bot is only going to be included for people in their first 16 weeks. The next year, which is when they join our Ascension program, they continue to have access to it. So we're going to raise the price of that, given they continue to have access to this bot, which we think is going to be a game changer for student results, because they can just continue to get feedback from something trained on everything we've ever said. We're going to be maximizing the setting team. That's kind of my main focus, is making sure they got dashboards set up, making sure they got daily accountability, daily KPIs, and constant training. We are going to stack as much value as humanly possible into Digital Writing School. Just having that kind of drop all bucket is great. And then partner program, new done with you vertical on the back of Write with AI. That's kind of way further down. I just like to remind myself that we're doing that. And then upping the amount of YouTube content. I do want to get back to filming more. Last 2 weeks, kind of hectic and a lot of changes within the business and just a lot going on and I also lost a day of footage. So pretty hard to recover from that. But I want to get to doing more content here on YouTube, which leads me to the last point. If you're enjoying these videos, let me know what questions you have about any of these business models, any of the verticals, any of my approach to business in general. I want to make sure every single week I answer some questions. So leave a comment below, any question you have, and I will answer it in next week's video, and also shoot you over a very quick comment reply before I give a more in-depth answer to your question. And if you're potentially interested in working one-on-one with me, with a handful of other business owners doing multiple 6 figures per month to build out some of the assets that I talk about in this video and my approach to doing things, give me the word scale on Instagram. I'll shoot over more info. It's actually me. Other than that, thanks for watching another weekly update. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next week. Peace.